Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco dish out on the movies. Except today we're not doing a movie, we are reviewing a book. Another book in the Slappyworld series by R.L. Stine called Monster Blood is Back. And the usual suspects are a brother and a sister and a best friend. Only this one is a little bit different. There's monster blood, and there's a hit and run, and there's a cooking competition like MasterChef Junior. So let's get started, Marco.
Wow! Finally. Well, I was excited for this book at first because I thought, I can't wait to see another Monster Blood. I'm so sick of Slappy. I'm so sick of these other stupid books. I want to see a Monster Blood book because, honestly, even though I don't like the third one, the original series is pretty entertaining. And I would take the original 4 Monster Bloods over all of the Night of the Living Dummies. Because that's how entertaining they are. Even though some of them are bad. You know, they're like entertaining in a fun, bad way. And, you know, a lot of the Night of the Living Dummy books the Slappy books, they're not entertaining and they're bad. But this book, it's nothing of what it could have been. I mean, it seems like another desperate attempt from R.L. Stine or from the publishers to try to make Goosebumps popular again in some way by like, okay, let's do a Monster Blood book now because, you know, remember Monster Blood? Because, I mean, when you look at the story in the book, was the story really inspired, Safi? Like, do you think that this story was like some sort of a special story that because I think that this story could have been for anything. You could have had the book be about evil elves. You could have had the book be about evil cookies or something. You could have made this book about anything. It didn't even have to be about Monster Blood. There was nothing unique to this book that was unique to the Monster Blood series.
No.
So that's a huge issue with the book. You know, most of the book is spent at this cooking competition, and the cooking competition is a lot more like Chopped, which, you know, it's fine, but one of the issues that it had, though, besides the fact that it wasn't really a Monster Blood book at all, that was the blatantly obvious issue, but one of the biggest issues was that some of the ingredients, they just felt kind of like boring. What?
Plain.
Well, plain.
Interesting.
Plain and boring because it's almost like ingredients that, like, oh, you could obviously make this. Like at one point, you know, the kids, they get these ingredients and they're like ingredients that we would use for chili. And it's like, oh, obviously, they just thought, let's have them make chili, let's have them make this, let's have them make that. Like, the ingredients were very, very obviously contrived to where you would really want to only make one thing out of them, right?
Well, I just think that R.L. Stine, he hasn't watched very many cooking competitions. And if you've seen MasterChef Junior, even that abbreviated one we saw over the Christmas holidays,
yeah,
they are capable. Granted, they get some kind of instruction before they start, but they're capable of doing a lot more. This was almost like a 4-H competition.
Well, it was like really like childish and immature the way that it was almost like that they thought so little of these kids that they give them just these really basic ingredients that you could really only make one thing out of them, you know? Right, Safi?
Yeah, well, they're just, I mean, I was kind of shocked because even, I mean, we've watched tons of different cooking competitions. Granted, they were mostly for adults. We still watched plenty of at least MasterChef Junior is the only one I think that's had anything with kids for the most part. They did have a little bit on Chopped, I remember.
Yes, Safi, they had a show called Chop Junior.
Right, but it's not a regular thing.
Yeah, it is.
It is? Well, I guess we haven't watched it as a regular series.
No, it's not that good.
Anyway, they're capable of doing so much more, and there's nobody that's ever given those simple of ingredients.
No.
The only time they ever do anything like that is they're all making the same thing, and they have a requirement. Everything has to be set on the plate just right. Every little, like, let's say it's pizza, and every little piece of the pizza has to be in the right position, or it's a dessert like a cake, and you have to have the decorating has to be exactly like what's presented. So everybody has the same thing, but they have to imitate. The one who does it the best wins that particular competition, that level. And but this is never, for a regular competition, they never have something like that. Those tiny little basic ingredients.
Well, speak up, Safi. People can barely hear you.
Okay, Marco.
Well, they can't.
Marco has been driving me crazy all day.
Speak up, Safi.
Anyway, the kids...
Use your outside voice, I guess.
Kids never get that kind of simplistic, basic ingredients.
Well, and also you think about, number one, there's a lot of plot holes to this show. You know, I was thinking the whole book, it's too bad because this could have been like Gremlins 2. Because I thought about, Gremlins 2, where the gremlins are invading all those TV shows, and, like they had the cooking show where that woman was making that bologna thing and everything like that. That could have been but this wasn't. This was not anywhere near like Gremlins 2. It was like Gremlins trash, and so one of the other plot holes is the fact that these rich kids, they are on the competition, and they are the villains of the book. And to be fair, one of the only good things that I'll say about the book is that I like them as villains. What the hell? I like them as villains a lot more than Conan the Barbarian, or whatever they called him from the other Monster Bloods. Maybe not the twins from the first Monster Blood, but I did like these guys more as villains than Conan, or whatever they called him. That guy was kind of boring and stereotypical. Mm-hmm. Safi, you wouldn't know.
No, I haven't read any of the Monster Blood books. They
have this kid, and he's a bully, and I think they call him like Conan the Barbarian or something. Which is
an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
And he's just a bully, and he wants to beat you up or something. Like, he's really stereotypical. And these kids, though, they're rich, they're spoiled, rotten, and they had one plot hole with them where they said that they cheated using their Apple Watches during tests. They would give each other the answers. And it just seems like a huge gaping plot hole because, I know that R.L. Stine is a huge boomer and that he's not really with the times, because he's so delusional. He thinks that there's all these children who are offended by Goosebumps and that sensitivity readers will save everything by censoring his books behind his back. But the thing is that in classrooms, teachers will not let you have your cell phones out during a test. They'll and maybe not even in class in general, unless they say you can take them out. There's a lot of different guidelines and things and rules that these different teachers make up, and it's just hard to believe that this teacher is so stupid that they would let people have their Apple Watches out during tests. It doesn't make sense at all.
No.
She would say, like, no, you're going to put them away in your backpack, or I'm going to take them from you. That's what she would do. in the real world. So I thought that was dumb. But then another thing was the fact that basically the whole book is very, very repetitive, where the kids, they think they're going to win, and they're not very good anyway, these main two kids. Like, they're really kind of mediocre. But then again, they're given mediocre ingredients, so...
Well, those two rich kids keep undermining what they do.
Yeah, they keep cheating, and they keep sabotaging them.
Which,
and it's
basically, they don't need to do it, because it sounds like that they were capable of doing well without cheating. And so that really irritated me, and well, we'll talk about what happened.
Well, another thing, a couple of things, is that how is it that the cameras are not catching them doing that?
That's one thing I didn't understand.
And how are the kids at their own stations not catching them doing that? Like, the kids are so dumb that they can't see them come over and sabotage them? Like, how is it that they're so, like, ignorant that they don't see that?
I don't know.
Safi?
I wondered that myself, because what happens is the girls, well...
Do they have, like,
they are able to get some monster blood, and they're so sick of the two bullies, I call them bullies, brother and sister bullies, they've undermined it. First they put hot sauce in their, like a whole bottle.
Which, by the way, they really blew that out of proportion. You know, like with, like, the paramedics having to come and having to treat the judges. Like, they really blew that out of proportion and trying to make it seem like it was a bigger thing than it really was.
Well, another thing they did was they shut off their oven. So what they had to present was not cooked. So
that was funny.
One thing the first time it made the judges sick. And they actually got kicked out. But because some of the contestants became ill, they got to come back and replace them. Then the next time they were making something, and they turned the oven off, unbeknownst to them. And their food didn't cook, and of course the judges didn't like what they do, but they liked everything this creepy brother and sister couple made, and they described it. It did sound good.
Yeah.
And the girls, who are the focus of the story, the main characters, they even admitted they thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, they didn't even need to cheat in the first place.
So, and you know, the thing is, they were talking about school, and they cheat at school, they cheat on tests, they cheated all kinds of stuff at school. One girl mentioned that they had done something to her project.
And I was also thinking at the end of this book, you know, R.L. Stine, he's really not good with, like, morals and, like, lessons, because, like, this book actually shows that cheating is a good thing. It shows that, like, you can get ahead if you cheat in life. Like, if you're these kids and you just cheat for every single cooking competition and, you know, sabotage the other people, you can go really far. There's basically no consequences for them.
No, they never get in trouble.
No.
No one ever, and they don't say anything either, which kind of surprises me.
Yeah.
Or maybe they did the second time around, but the guy just said, he just took it, the head of the competition, he just took it in stride and said they were, what did he say, they were warriors, or it was
I can't remember. I read the book like 10 hours ago.
Yeah, I know. Well, he said something about, like, they're just real heavy-duty competitors. He said it in different words, but that's what he meant. And, no, they were cheating and they didn't need to. That's what was funny. By going after other people's cooking projects, especially these two girls, because they knew them. They were in school with them, and the other kids were from another school. So, I
would also say this is really not a Monster Blood book in terms of... I look at all the other Monster Blood books, and they all feel like Monster Blood books. That is kind of because they all copy each other, basically, but this book is the only one out of these 5 that I've read where it really does not feel like it's a part of the same series. Because it's very babyish, it's very childish, it's just not like real Goosebumps. It doesn't feel like the Goosebumps that we all know and love. It feels like childish Goosebumps light. And I think that Monster Blood deserved a lot better. Right,
Well,
Safi?
the thing is, it felt more like another book. In other words, they used the monster blood from previous books, but it felt like it didn't even have anything to do with it could be somebody else's horror story.
Yeah.
And they were given permission to use the monster blood.
Well, and it also felt like this could have been some sort of a cooking monster because it was so related to cooking, this whole book. I felt like it would have been a lot better if this was like R.L. Stein's like gingerbread man killer or something like that, like instead of Monster Blood. If it was like a cooking related monster, I would have probably given the book like a C plus or maybe a C. But since it's Monster Blood, I'm not going to give it anywhere near that at all. Because compared to all the other ones, I mean, I would rather read Monster Blood 3 over this, even though Monster Blood 3 is terrible. So that's also another thing. And we should also say how the kids, the way they get the monster blood is really stupid too. We were talking about how funny and goofy it was because they go to the shop and it's called the Very Evil Toy Shop. And it sounds like a fun store if it was like a, like not really actually evil toys or something, but it really seemed like this store had some dangerous things in it.
Yeah. Well, even the monster blood was dangerous.
Yeah, and it seemed like it has always been a problem in this book series how monster blood is allowed to be sold in a store. I feel like R.L. Stine didn't really think about the ramifications of if monster blood was actually allowed in stores, what would actually happen. It wouldn't be... because it's so convenient that, like, just these 2 kids get access to it. They're the only ones who have a problem. They never raise the issue with their parents. The parents never find out. There's so many conveniences that make you just think, like, yeah, this would never happen. Right, Safi?
Well, we'll be getting to that soon, but...
Well, just them being allowed to get monster blood out of a store.
Of course not. It's
the Very Evil Toy Store.
I mean, would you sell radioactive? Monster blood isn't radioactive. It's just an analogy. Would you sell some kind of radioactive waste in a store?
You wouldn't be allowed to. You get shut down.
And so it doesn't make sense. And I just in really a lot of things don't make sense when there's a reason for it.
Well, we can't talk about that yet because that really ruins the book. That part just seals the deal in making it trash. What?
Well, it certainly. It's the reason why this doesn't. For me, it doesn't. Even though I have not read a Monster Blood book, I'm just thinking about. I saw the TV shows and TV episodes featuring the books a long time ago when my other son was a kid and after school. And this just doesn't seem like a Goosebumps book. It just seems like somebody else's, horror book with children. And they've made their own story and they've been given permission to use Monster Blood, which is R.L. Stine's monster. And so I think if you did that, You'd have to have permission. So this is what it seems like to me, because it doesn't follow the same track as any of the Goosebumps stories. And I guess one thing I am grateful that it's not a Slappy book. He does come in, for the break and the end and everything.
But the last Slappy book was good.
Yeah, but I don't want to read about Slappy on every book. I don't care how good.
Yeah, but Safi, this book was crap.
Well, it's almost like he has a contract, and he's been told he has to write so many of these books.
No, it's like they told him, R.L. Stine, you have to make a Monster Blood book now. And he was like, okay, fine. Fine, I don't really want to, but fine.
Well, so he did
But then he was like, ooh, I'm going to watch Chopped tonight. Oh, wait a second. I'm watching the Chopped show. So maybe I could incorporate that into the Monster Blood book that I'm being forced to write. Ooh, Monster Blood and Chopped? Whoa, nobody's ever done that before. I'm genius.
Oh, I can't see him saying that.
That's what he did.
Anyway, this is what I don't understand, what the goal of Slappyworld is. Because before, when he wrote all these books, the original books, that wasn't Slappyworld, that was Goosebumps World. They just said Goosebumps. And so all the monsters fit under that category or whatever title. And then now, because he has a Slappyworld series, which to me indicates all the stories would be about Slappy.
Well, they indicate that Slappy would have an involvement with them. Like, maybe Slappy knows about this type of monster. Maybe he met this certain monster. Maybe he terrorized these children who are in this story together. Like, no, but there's no connection at all.
No, not at all.
He's just there once in a while so that he can be like, hey everyone, this is Slappy. And I like myself a lot, and I'm really scary. And then he's like, okay, back to the shitty story. Like, that's all he does. He doesn't contribute anything at all.
And he, it usually, even in other stories, when he does this epilogue at the end, it's a lot longer, or it has a lot more detail. And this time it was very short.
Yeah.
I thought.
Very insignificant.
No, it didn't add anything to the story. I don't even know why it was called an epilogue. So
anyways, another thing to talk about is that the main two characters are not related to Evan and Andy. And this is a huge issue for me because I think the Monster Blood series really is Evan and Andy. They're supposed to be like the main characters of the series. And even though, and I will probably be able to come up with a better story than what was in this shitty book. Because it's getting pretty easy at this point to make something up that's better than these crappy Slappyworld books. But Evan and Andy, I don't understand why at the very least, why couldn't they have had these kids be the daughters of Evan and Andy? Like, why couldn't they make it to where this is all these years later, it's Monster Blood is back. Wouldn't it make so much more sense that Evan and Andy, they grew up and they finally got married and had children? Like, that would have been such a simple and easy thing to do, and they didn't do that. I don't understand why they did that. Is it because, like, it implies that they were in a relationship, and, like, oh, we can't ever imply that kids from a Goosebumps book got together romantically, because everyone in Goosebumps is gay, except for the parents who conveniently hooked up before the book started. Right, Safi?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean? Well, it's like
gay.
there's no boys who show any sort of like interest in girls in these books and vice
Doesn't mean they're
versa.
gay.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
And
so.
it's just sickening. It's like, why couldn't they have made Evan and Andy husband and wife, and these main characters are their kids? Like, that would have been so simple to do. It wouldn't have taken any effort besides mentioning at the beginning of the book, Evan and Andy grew up, they had children together because they were in love, which you should have figured out if you weren't retarded when you read the original Goosebumps books. But no, they didn't do that at all. These are just random girls that nobody cares about. And they were trash characters, too. I mean, they're kind of wimpy, they're kind of stupid, you know, especially because of the voice person, you know, the way that she read these characters. I don't know, it's just like everything they say you could just kind of laugh at because they're so stupid sounding. Right, Safi?
Yeah.
Keep talking.
It's just
Safi, speak up.
See, if you listen to the audiobook, he listened to his book on YouTube. I listened to it with two girls. Or maybe it's just one girl making two girl voices, and then she makes her brother, and it's very babyish sounding.
Yeah, I heard it, and I thought, this sounds terrible. She makes these characters sound even worse than they actually are.
Well, she just makes them sound very young, and it's weird because, like I said, we've watched MasterChef Junior competitions, and they're even, we just saw this Christmas one, and there's some of the contestants are extreme. They're like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And they can't just go walking down the street entering a competition.
Yeah.
They have their parents with them. And that's one thing. And I guess these kids were 12, but I think the two girls, because that's what it usually is. The older sibling is like 12, and the younger sibling is 9. And even so, I think for the MasterChef, that's the highest age they can be, 12. They still all have their parents or some guardian with them.
In this book, they're never with their parents at all.
No, nobody has their parents. Nobody.
Epstein could have gotten someone to take them at any time. They were never in protection. Which, that would have been an even darker ending for this book. Like, if all of a sudden they get taken to Epstein Island.
I'm not going to do that in a Goosebumps
But
book.
what would be so cool is if they get taken to Epstein Island and the kids still have, like, monster blood with them, and so then they use monster blood to escape.
Oh.
Like, that could be cool. Because, like, monster blood could eat the island. And that's another thing. Well, there's a lot of things. I don't know. Because when I think about monster blood, I think about, it's like, what, 5 or 6 million books into the series. We still don't know why it's called Monster Blood. We still don't know where it came from. We still don't know. Well, I mean, in the Goosebumps episode, the witch created it, and it was her invention.
That's right.
But in the books, in the books, it was like some sort of a product that came from Europe, and it was in like this can. And it was like something you could get in a store physically. And so in every book, you know, you have them going to the store to get monster blood.
And that's what this is. They go to a store. They don't like what the person has shown them to buy. The girl's looking for a present for her younger brother. It's going to be his birthday on the weekend. And they don't like what they see, and then they see the monster blood on the shelf, and they buy 2 cans. And it was really cheap, and that's it.
Nobody can hear you, Safi.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, now they could have heard you. So anyways...
Well, that's what happens. The girls go buy the monster blood at a store.
Yeah, we talked about that like 30 minutes ago.
Okay.
But I was just saying, you know, we're 6 books into the series. We still don't know why that's allowed to happen. We still don't know what monster blood is. It's just kind of ridiculous. You know, it's stupid. And it's another low-effort book where, you know, honestly, like, I don't even know how R.L. Stine does it, because, like, if I was this, like, creatively bankrupt, like, I don't even know how I could handle it. Like, I don't even know how you could handle just writing stories of this insignificance where they're just so lame, nothing happens in them. There's about a stupid cooking competition. Like, who the hell wants this shit? Like, who the hell, when they heard a new Monster Blood book is coming out, who the hell wanted a book about a cooking competition, and Monster Blood is just in it once in a while? Like, who wanted this? Did you want it, Safi?
No, but because, I don't know how popular those.
That doesn't matter.
Well, I know, but for children, I don't know how popular a cooking competition book would be.
Oh.
And so that's what I'm saying. I don't know how popular the shows are on TV that a lot of kids are like, oh, wow, let's watch the latest episode of MasterChef Junior and see what happens and see who's going to win. I don't know if I ever hear any talk like that anywhere.
Well,
online or anywhere.
And you hear even less kids talking about Monster Blood books. Like, Monster Blood is a very niche series. People either love it or they hate it. There's a lot of people, and they love all the books, and then there's a lot of people who really hate all the books and just can't stand the Monster Blood series. And so it's like he already had a series that needed some help. It needed a fresh take. It needed to be, like, exciting and new and original. It needed to have Evan and Andy get married. And instead, it's this stupid babyish kids book about these two kids who are in a cooking competition. And it's like, who cares? Right, Safi?
Yeah. I guess so. It's just weird how that's all set up, but there's a reason for that.
Yeah, because
pretty soon we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we will. The twist is the worst thing about the book. The twist actually ruins anything that's decent or good about the book, because the twist undoes the entire book.
Yes.
And there's a big reveal at the end where it was all a dream. Which, we love that type of twist, not...
Well, I don't think very many people like that.
No, it's very lazy. It's a cop-out. It's, it just shows very, very lazy R.L. Stine, how lazy he has gotten.
It's, I don't know. I just, adults don't like it.
No.
So I can't imagine children do. I recognized it at the very beginning. I thought... I wasn't sure, and really, what happens is the girls, they are going to participate in a cooking competition. That is real. They plan to do it, and on the way there, I guess they want to stop and get a present for the brother, and one of the girls gets hit by a car, by a hit-and-run driver. I mean, he drives off. And so then they continue on with the book, and they have this whole phantasmical story about Monster Blood and the bullies at the the cooking competition, and talking about school, and they have the Monster Blood. They have to hide it from the brother because it got all over his arm, and they have trouble getting it off. And had to wear special gloves and all this stuff. So, this huge story. And, the levels of the competition and what they made and how they were screwed over by those bullies. We've talked about that already. I mean, this just... And then you come to, and, the Monster Blood, they have to take it. They want to return it. And they can't find the store anywhere. So that really makes you suspicious. Because even, what that shades of?
What?
Haunted Mask.
What?
When she goes back to look for the owner, I think of the second one, the place is a wrecked out store. It's closed.
But they do eventually find the owner, and he had destroyed all the masks, or tried to, and then the the most iconic one took over him.
Right. Well, that's true. But it's just the fact that here they are, they're looking for the store, and I was thinking, haunted mask, these traces or shades of past stories and R.L. Stein's history. And,
Well, I was thinking, if you wanted to put Monster Blood in any sort of a competition, you would have put it on a weight loss program, because it would have been hilarious on a weight loss show to see like a bunch of fat kids and they have to deal with Monster Blood, and like, because Monster Blood makes everything bigger, and it eats everything, and so it would have been so much more interesting to see that. But then I thought, wait a second, if you have Monster Blood at like a sport or weight loss camp type thing, it would be too much like horror at Camp Jelly Jam.
oh,
Because, in that book, that's all about a sports camp. And then there's this giant blob who actually, I believe he killed people. So, like, you wouldn't want to do that, because that would be too much like Jelly Jam.
no.
Unfortunately. But I guess you still could.
So anyway, the story, it's kind of like negates itself.
Yeah.
It's like, what would it be? 2 times 0 equals 0, because any number times 0 equals 0.
Yeah.
So that's what the story is, because it never happened. Because why? That girl was seriously hurt when she was hit by a car. She was knocked out cold.
So that means technically Monster Blood wasn't even in this entire book.
No, it's all a made-up story.
It also technically means there is no Monster Blood in this area.
And what was weird, I don't understand why Slappy said this, but he always does an epilogue. It was extremely short for this story. And he said, was this all a dream? How come there's still a green gunk in her hair? And all that? And no, there wasn't.
No, there wasn't
any green gunk in her hair. There wasn't anything, because it never happened. But what's weird is she had tried to wake up, because during, almost at the end, she said to her friend, you know what I think? I don't think this is real. I think I'm knocked out by being hit by a car. And I'm going to see if I can try to wake up. And she tries to wake up, but when she opens her eyes, everything is still the Monster Blood story that she's in, which means she's still knocked out cold. And I mean, this is actually a serious thing, because somebody has hit her in a car, driving a car, and drove off. That is hit and run. And then she could have gotten killed. And she does get knocked out. It had to be a pretty serious concussion, and at the minimum, because at the end, they have paramedics. They've come to take her to the hospital, of course. So I thought this was a dream, but I wasn't sure, because now I've never read any of the Monster Blood books, but I don't think I've read any R.L. Stein book where it was all just a dream.
No, there are.
Oh, is there? Okay, well, this isn't as obvious, but at the beginning and in the middle, but at the end, I mean, it is. It just flat out turns out to be that. And I had just thought that, because I've seen it a couple times in other things. Like, even though I didn't watch it, the infamous Dallas season, where the whole thing, I don't know what happened with that. I didn't watch the show, but I know people were so pissed off that the whole season was a dream. And so that's the only time I've really heard about something like that. And then I think we've watched something recently.
Yeah, we did recently. I can't remember what it was.
I can't either. And it was just a dream.
Yeah.
And it's irritating. because it's just like he's been contracted to write a story. They thought, well, hey, why don't you write about Monster Blood? Or maybe it was his idea. Who knows? And so then he decides to do it and think, this is Slappyworld, so maybe I'll just negate it and I'll throw it in the trash at the end, and it really won't be a Monster Blood story. So I don't know.
It's another terrible twist ending. It's another video where we can say, why did there need to be a twist ending? Because the twist, it basically ruins the book. I mean,
I don't know why they just couldn't have kept it.
Yeah, the whole book is meaningless. Like, it's not even worth, like, ranking in a way, because it's like, none of it even happens. So it's like, who cares?
Yeah, and so I just don't know why. I don't know why he did that, because you're talking about an entire book, and maybe the last, I don't know, would have been 2 or 3 pages where it's all negated.
Yeah.
And he could have left it the way it was. The kids, remember, they grew to. Oh, I just read it because I had to read again. I got interrupted and distracted. But her brother and his birthday party friends, they ate some of the monster blood and they grew really big. And so then it was attacking the 2 girls and all the people at the cooking show, and they had to rip it away, and then they were monsters, because the monster blood made them into big people like giants, and they stomped it out. And that would have been fun, interesting. It would have been a different kind of, like I said, I haven't read the other monster blood books. I have seen the shows, and Marco says sometimes the stories aren't even, many times maybe, don't even resemble what you see on TV. So anyway, he could have just left it the way it was and not made it into a dream. Because to me, the issue is somebody, an adult, drove a car and hit her, and that's a hit and run. That's a serious thing. That's not something you just kind of brush away and you end the book and she goes off to the hospital. I mean, that just isn't any insignificant. That's not a bully. That had nothing to do with those people.
And I would also like to mention, in thinking about this dream thing, Safi, she hasn't read the other Monster Blood books. Well, in those books, a lot of the times, in the sequels, they would have these elaborate dream sequences where something really bad would happen. You'd think that Monster Blood did a lot of stuff, and then all of a sudden, the main character would wake up and find out it's a dream. It was very frequent in the Monster Blood books, now that I can remember, very frequently. Like, in every book, basically, there were, like, multiple dream sequences, and that was, like, one of the weakest parts of those books, was, like, all the things that didn't actually happen.
Well, maybe that's why he made this story into that, then.
Well, hopefully not, because that's stupid. Well, in fact, I think, like, Monster Blood 2, like, it's, like, for the first, like, 30 pages or something, it's all a dream or something. Like, it's really dumb. That's not an excuse, though.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it just kind of explains why he did that. He
Really?
Just did it. I think so. I think he just did it on a grander scale. He just negated an entire book. A Slappyworld book. Nonetheless.
Okay, what would you rate Monster Blood is Back? Because that's another thing, too. It's a false advertising title. Because Monster Blood isn't back at all. Because this whole thing was a dream. So, technically, Monster Blood is not back. That's a lie. That's false advertising.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it is. Well, I thought it's out of 10, I guess.
No, Safi, letters.
Oh. Well, I think I'd give it a D.
Yeah.
I just, because it never happens, And then this cooking show thing is, I don't think he's watched many cooking shows. I really think it would benefit him if he wants to write a story about cooking shows. That
I'm thinking too that like
watch a few.
It's very disappointing.
More than a few.
It's very disappointing that like the first Goosebumps book, where there's like a cooking show, that it's this lame. Because I think like if I was a kid and I heard that R.L. Stine wrote a Goosebumps book with a cooking show in it, I would think like, ooh, cool. Like, is it like a monster cooking show, like in Horrorland, where they had that monster Jeopardy thing, and they had all the monster edibles, like all the ears and the eyeballs for people to eat? Like, is it like that? Is it like a fun Goosebumps type of cooking show? Oh no, it's just a really boring, lame version of Chopped.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't know if you want me to say this, but it doesn't matter. Gordon Ramsay was at the Super Bowl.
Okay, that's irrelevant. Okay, and so my rating of the book,
I can't wait to hear,
is an F-.
Ooh.
Because as I said earlier on in this review, if this was just some generic like gingerbread man book or cooking the Cookie Monster Goosebumps version, I give it like a C-. But it's Monster Blood. It's not a Monster Blood book. And also the fact that the whole thing is a dream, that just ruins everything. So that's an F-.
Now, Marco and I are not too fond of it was just a dream kind of stories. And, I was talking to Marco, too, about, like, Wizard of Oz. Now, I have read the book, and I don't remember it being like this, but, when the tornado comes and she's stuck in the house because her dog ran into the house or something, and the tornado comes and she gets knocked out. And then all this stuff happens with the yellow brick road and, the land of the Munchkins and, all these places and things that happen. That's all a dream. That's what it seems like when it's presented in the movie. But I don't think that happens in the book. But still, it's just disappointing. It's just like you just watch something and it might be good, might be bad, and we just listen to something. But it's just like when it's all finished, because it was like a complete story. It's like somebody just threw a blanket over it and put it in the other room and hid it away. Like it never happened, which that's what it is.
It didn't.
It's a dream. It never happened. So it's just, I don't think either one of us is a fan of these little dream kind of stories or books or anything. It just doesn't, it's like a cop-out to me. And so anyway, that's it. So, there's a few more Slappyworld books to read.
There's two.
So that's a few. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers so you can join the discussion. Bye.
Bye.